Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Paj-anime. It's not really that special, outside of it being episode 50, which is the longest that Ryan and I have done so far. I mean, by the time this goes up, we'll probably pass that in Bloodborne.
You think this will be the last episode?
No.
Kyle's convinced that we're going to beat Final Fantasy VIII. Whoa, Behemoth King.
Yeah.
What up, big guy?
Oh, you want to see what's
He's
up?
even.
Riku is up. Riku's down. Holy shit.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall.
Yeah.
Levels of puns.
I mean, you kind of set that one up, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. So we were going to talk some.
Yes. Yes,
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
If you haven't seen our E3 coverage, Kyle is pretty much unfamiliar with Resident Evil, and he had some questions about main protagonists in games. So I'm not going to spoil plot details because Kyle and I might potentially play some Resident Evils or something to that effect.
Yeah. Could happen.
And obviously there are side games that I am not completely aware of plot-wise or who plays as who. I know there's like Umbrella City Chronicles and stuff. Like there's a bunch of like
Code
subtitled
Veronica.
games. Yeah, there's a bunch of subtitled games that I'm not as familiar with. I'll bring up the Resident Evil series, but to a degree, when we'll maybe cover some of that after. But right now, I just wanted to answer your question about the protagonists. So the first game follows...
My question from like weeks
Chris,
ago for the audience.
Yes. The first game follows Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine.
Okay.
They are members of an elite task force known as STARS as they investigate the outskirts of Raccoon City following the disappearance of their team members. They soon become trapped in a mansion infested with zombies as other monsters.
And this is like the first
player having selected to play as Chris or Jill, right? So keep in mind you could play as Chris or Jill at the start of the game. You made the decision. You were either Chris or you were Jill. If I remember correctly, there were specific, like, there was a reason to play the game through with each character. You would see something, different endings, or there was a thing.
Okay.
Like they started to lean away from that, especially when they reintroduced multi-characters in Resident Evil 5, and it just became co-op, right? And then it became, if someone doesn't play with you, it's an AI co-op.
Yeah.
A shitty one at that. Like a lot of people hated that game because they didn't play it with anyone. I played the game with Shane, and it was like, man, this is one of the funnest games I've ever played. Like, it was just perfect as a co-op experience. Like, it was just like, oh man, this is just, like, it's goofy, it controls like better than it ever has in terms. Like RE4, you'll see RE4 kind of changed some of the control stuff to a degree. It was still a little...
Yeah, they were pretty janky early on though, right? Like, obviously...
Yeah, well, you can't move and shoot at the same time.
Yeah, that's a... Wait, what?
And then
you move and shoot at the same time.
Yeah, but your move is on a an axis, right? Like you move in 360s and then you hit up, you know?
Yeah, that's...
Like when you turn, I mean, like you turn on a 360 axis.
Yeah,
if you want to turn somewhere, it's not like a lean and you run around the corner. Yeah, but that was all games to a degree at the time, with the exception of like a few, right? Like if you look at this game, for example, right? Like obviously you have the freeforming moving stuff, but you have no combat associated with it, right?
Yeah.
Like Resident Evil 4 was a lot better. Like you could do the movement was more of a like it was more about stick stuff, and it started to really get a lot better. But like keep in mind, this is pre-Gears of War and stuff, right? So nobody had really figured out. Third-person shooters weren't even really established as a big genre yet.
Yeah.
Like Gears of War 1 was like 2005 or something, I think, wasn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, 2005. Yeah.
2006, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2005 was the launch of the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that was Resident Evil 1. It's in the mansion.
Oh, fuck! What?
Wow.
Son of
You're
a
back in the mansion.
bitch!
We're gonna need something like Resident Evil because you need to come back from the dead now. Oh, that was bad. I'm the Fonz of bad puns.
What the fuck? I knew he cast Meteor in a death rattle, but I was like, yeah, well, Orin's gonna survive it.
Huh.
Orin
Did your run just jump the shark like the fawns?
Orin did not survive it. Fuck, we're back at the start of this area.
Lovely.
Which admittedly I did get lost in, so it's not actually the end of the world. But that's some levels.
I gotta go fight the dog, so you continue.
Yeah. Alright, well that was the thing that happens.
No, she might have quieted on her own.
Good job, Pepper. You know what's up.
Nope, never mind.
Okay, that's fine. Go for it, dude. I got this. That was some fucking cuck-ass bullshit. I have never... Oh my god, I've never had an enemy do that before. Okay, let's just do cast on...
This should be quick!
Paste on just Orin, so I can conserve some of that shit. Orin's gonna drop some mad armor break. And Riku's gonna punch him in the face. Yeah, so while Ryan's away, I mentioned, like, this area is a little bit, obviously the part I'm the least familiar with, because, you know, it's the end of the fucking game. So, you don't really have to do that often. And, you know, every time I've been in it, I've always wanted to just, like, rush through and get the sin. So it's...
Hey, it's my boy.
Yeah, it's your
Adamantos.
boy. That's the guy.
Adamantios.
Adamantium.
Okay. Yep, he's the Wolverine of Pokemon.
Yep. So yeah, Resi 1, Chris Redfield, and Jill Valentine. Are they both in it,
Yes.
or is it like...
Yeah, I just mentioned like you meet up with the other person at some point, and I like again, there's a whole hook that's like, there's a hook that's like we're on top of picking each character. There's a little difference if I remember correctly. I'd have to look deeper into the game if you're curious what the actual difference is, but.
No, it just wasn't like...
I feel like if and when we do those Resident Evil games, that's probably my point to like, we'll probably at some point have to catch you up on the plot of Resident Evil 1 and probably some of the plot of the games we haven't played. So I'm not as concerned. Like, I think, well, I don't know, I haven't determined if we're playing, like, because for those wondering, we're basically on the docket. I don't know if we're going to do them all in a row or not, like we are with Kingdom Hearts. We might. It just depends on... They're shorter, right? That's kind of the thing. We're looking at games like Bloodborne's kind of a long feature. For those who don't know, we have another feature where we run concurrent with this, where we're currently playing through Bloodborne. And because anime games tend to be so long, we were looking at our secondary feature and wondering maybe we should play stuff that, you know, isn't like 60 hours, right? Because look, if we have two long-running features, it can be a grind, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a point in both of these series, even though I feel like we've started to really pick up on the recording of them, is where we've been grinding in each one, and it's just like that can be, you know, it doesn't matter what, if one day we're doing one or one day we're doing the other, you're starting to get a similar experience in terms of just, oh, this is an episode where we just have to wait it out, right? There's not necessarily anything completely wrong with that, but sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of a variance. Anyway, so the RE games are a little bit shorter. Like 20 hours or something like that, right? So, but I am planning on showing Kyle Resident Evil 4, and I want to play 5 with him since it is co-op. And I don't know about that RE2 remake. That's the thing that makes me wonder. You know what I mean? About if we should visit. You know?
Yep.
Anyway, that would be the time to explain to you more about the actual plot of Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 2 was Claire and Leon.
Yeah. Absolutely no relation to the first one, except that Claire and Chris.
Okay,
siblings,
so
right?
this one actually specifically ascertains the gameplay focused on exploration, puzzles, and combat, and the main difference from its predecessor are the branching paths, with each player character, so either Claire or Leon, whoever you choose, having unique storylines and obstacles.
Okay, so like there's actually like plot or like gameplay differences.
Yes, the characters are connected. Like I think narratively, you see the other person doing things, right? Because it's like, you know, they're on, like, if I remember correctly, there are moments where they're together in the plot, like fending off a zombie thing at like a police station or something, and then moments where they go do separate things. It's like, I need to go here, you need to go here, right? So it's like, even though you're both in the same city, playing through that with different characters is an entirely different experience, because where you're going and what you're doing, and because it's like, those are the type of games that are like horror games, right? So it's like, the type of enemies they put in each thing is different, you know what I mean? Like, different in each location, so it's just kind of like, yeah. But that one's whole thing was you were in Raccoon City, right?
Yeah.
If you're not a little bit familiar, Umbrella Corporation is the people that developed this thing that created zombies, and now it happened in Raccoon City, and it was in an underground thing, and it was, zombies. Which aren't zombies. Like, basically, as you'll see in RE4, it's not really zombies anymore. It's kind of like Umbrella by connection with things. Anyway, so that's RE2 is Claire and Leon. RE3 is the one I remember the least about. It was a ridiculous one. It's called Nemesis. Yeah. So it seems like it just says the story follows Jill Valentine. So then it seems like you're just Jill, and her efforts to escape from a city infected with a biological weapon.
Move never gets
Choices
old.
through the game. Sorry. Yeah. By the way, this is an anime as fuck series, which is why I'm okay with. Which is why I'm stunned you haven't heard of it. Like I said, I remember being talked about in the same vein as because think about the comparisons. Janky controls, ridiculous plot, set in a weird thing.
I've heard of the games, dude. I just didn't ever get around.
You know what I'm comparing it to, obviously. Kojima.
Oh yeah, but I had
kind of similar era too.
About Metal Gear before you watched it on Giant Bomb. That was my introduction to Metal Gear.
Yeah. So it seemed. I think that one was its own city. Yeah, it was originally planned as a spin-off for RE3. And if I remember correctly, the whole thing was like Nemesis was like this monster that they introduced, and then like he was like in the city, but like you would never be able to hurt him or something, and like he chased you around, and then he got stronger throughout the game, and then like built to the final battle, right? Like he was like because the whole thing with RE sometimes is like our big monsters is like, oh, this what if we give this monster just enough sentience, right? Well, then it starts to outthink you, right? Then it's the predator situation, right? Then you're like, oh shit, this is not. I'm being hunted here by a thing. Like, it's not just something chasing. It's not a zombie, right? It's not just chasing me and trying to kill me. It's plotting against me and setting me up. Like, that's not. Yeah. So they were trying to like play with some of that, if I believe. I don't remember people hating it. It says it was well like Resident Evil 3, but yeah, you were Jill in Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 4, you're just Leon. As you'll see, there is there are other characters in the game, some of which like. I remember one joins you on missions, and it's not great. That's like my least favorite part about the game. But you're just Leon.
Okay.
There's no other characters. In Resident Evil 5, it is Chris Redfield again from the first game, and like Shiva Alamara. Yeah. Yes. They go to a fictional region of Africa. This is when they were like, hey, Call of Duty's a thing now, so we're going to be modern too, right? It's like, okay, I see what you're doing. They started to lean in that direction a little bit in RE4. Like, obviously they had like pseudo-modern guns in all the RE games, but this is when they're like, what if we give you more tools? Like, what if we give you grenade launchers and like everything all the time, right? This is when it stopped becoming RE4 is what the kind of big push. Less horror and more like you can wreck these things too. There's still horrific elements, but yeah. Anyway, she was like the police or whatever.
Again.
She was the police in the fictional region that you're in, right? So
okay. And
her and Chris kind of like
I'm
team
an
up.
expert in these things, so
yes.
I'm going to help you.
But the thing that 5 added for the first time was full-on co-op. There are other modes that they're in. Like I don't remember when they first get started. I think it might be in 4. It's like a mercenaries mode, which I'll show you when we do that game. That's when they let you play as some of the other characters in the series, like through like a task force. Like there's kind of like an Overwatch style, like well, obviously Overwatch came later, but you know what I mean. Like even Kojima does this in a lot of his games. Like they were all a part of Elite Squad. That's like everyone's connected to, not just the heroes, but also the villains, right? Like there's like there's these pseudo relationships. Notable people are like Ada Wong, Albert Wesker, Chris and Leon.
Oh, I recognize the name Albert Wesker. He has a ridiculous voice, doesn't he?
Yes. Albert Wesker is kind of the villain's... He's basically Shredder. He's like the guy who runs everything in Umbrella to a degree.
Yeah.
And he also runs like the task force or whatever that they're a part of, that they're no longer a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's...
Continue. The plot involves an investigation of a terrorist threat by a Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, the BSAA. Again, Agent Chris Redfield and Shiva... Redfield soon learns that he must confront his past in the form of an old enemy, Albert Wesker, and his former partner, Jill Valentine. Like it's like Bond anime, kind of, with horror. Like
So if you had to, and I don't want you to give justification for why.
I don't know about 6. 6 had like 4 playable characters that each had chapters. Like I believe Chris is playable, Leon's playable, everyone's playable.
Yeah. If you
I had to what? Sorry.
If you had to rank the characters like in a tier list, and I don't want you to give justifications for why, because I obviously don't know anything about these characters and shouldn't yet. If we're going to be playing them, give me your tier list of these characters. The playable characters, obviously. I don't want to kill them in there too.
Only playable? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Leon 1. I haven't played a lot of 3, keep in mind, so I don't remember playing. I remember playing Jill in 1 as well. Like, obviously I played a little. I remember playing, like, my cousins used to have 1 and 2, and they used to use them as like, oh hey, here's the 7-year-old kid, come over, let's try to scare him with Resident Evil, right?
Yeah.
But like for me, that was like, oh, like you get scared the first few times, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like any horror movie. The first time you've seen those tricks, like the jump scares might get you, but they're not terrifying anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
it's like, oh,
you made me jump, but I'm not actually like as a kid where you get like actually scared, right? Like,
yeah.
The jump then leads to like these horrific things you're seeing for the first time or whatever. But yeah, no, I'd say Leon, maybe then Jill, then Chris, then Claire. I mean, Shiva's not really in any of the other games. She's just kind of one of those.
Yeah, she's a one-off.
Yeah, she's not a. I don't remember her being a particularly awful character, but I don't remember her being particularly nuanced either. I don't think she was in it, but I like obviously for the whole game. But Resident Evil 5 isn't really about her.
Yeah.
At all.
Someone had to be an actor with Chris.
Like that's the thing, right? The whole plot's about Chris's. Like I mentioned, the whole like obviously without spoiling anything, in the wiki there or the synopsis, it was like Chris runs into a former enemy and former partner, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Shiva's just you know the old plot where Bond goes to a country and then runs into Chinese agent of the China company or the Chinese government, an agent of the Chinese government, right? Who's a one-off introduced character who gets to be his partner for the whole movie. But if the plot has personal connections to Bond, it has no personal connections to this person because they're just introduced, right? So it's just like, here's a partner. So, like, don't get me wrong, I sometimes like those partner scenarios for it lets fresh perspectives kind of sometimes come in because they can
totally
go outside the personality box. It's just the plot will then not usually involve them, right?
Yeah, they'll usually just be there like, well, I'm going to back you up. Like they're experiencing everything through the lens of their like partner or whatever, right?
Pretty much. Shiva still gets to do a lot of heroic stuff in the game, but like I don't know if she ever gets mentioned by name by anyone other than you at the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? Like,
or
hey,
Chris
Shiva.
Introducing her to people.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure nobody even talks about her. She has opinions on the plot at some point. I remember her and Chris having conversations like debriefing style, right? Like what's going on. But it's like a lot of Chris filling her in on stuff he already knows because it gives one of those drip feed in the environment and in the audio logs and the docs, you know, like Kojima style of little hints about what the bigger thing and what, you know, what's building to. But if you were to ask me my favorite character in all of Resident Evil, it would be Albert Wesker.
Okay.
He's the Joker for me of that series. He's just fucking, he's a great villain. Or the Loki. Loki's a better one, maybe.
Yeah. I can get down with that.
And the way they do him in Resident Evil 5, I don't know how anyone can hate that game. It's co-op and the co-op's bad, but I don't know how plot of that game is just, oh man. Like Resident Evil 4 takes itself a little more horror-y. Resident Evil 5 was when they kind of went more action-y, but then like Resident Evil 5 was like, for me, it's like the Metal Gear 2 moment almost. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people
and it also shares similarities. No, like, what do you mean?
Say your prayers.
We're mad at Metal Gear? The Metal Gear 2?
What did you say?
You said it was like the Metal Gear 2. You don't understand why people can be mad at it. It was almost like the Metal Gear 2 moment. You know, like a lot of people got mad at the Metal Gear 2 moment.
Oh, the Raiden?
Is that not what you were talking about?
I meant like Metal Gear 2 in terms of like Metal Gear 1 is an espionage game. Metal Gear 2 is an action anime game. Like Metal Gear 2 starting.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Metal Gear 2 is a platinum game.
I thought you meant the moment.
Yeah, sorry. There are moments like that. I mean, there are similarities, I should say, to that moment. But like,
yeah, sure.
realistically speaking, I'd like obviously, you know, you have a side character shoehorned in Resident Evil 5's case, like Shiva, instead of what Raiden got shoehorned in, but you play as Raiden, right? You can play as Shiva, but one person wouldn't get that experience if you just play as Chris. I just meant more like in the sense that Resident Evil 4's an action horror, they still tried to make it a horror. Resident Evil 5 has like horror sprinkles on top of a, you know, on top of a fucking action anime platinum style combat. The combat's still theirs, just like in Metal Gear, have the combat still theirs. But if you take out that combat, like they're going, you play platinum games, you know what I mean? Like that's one of the reasons why I think Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is the most. No, okay, well you've seen them.
Yes.
Like plot wise. Like, I think Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is the most Metal Gear of all the Metal Gear games. Like, it's the 100%, literally that, turned to 100, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just didn't realize it yet, right? Like, and then obviously Kojima went back in Metal Gear 3 to the espionage, the slow pace, you know what I mean? Like, you still do a lot of sneaking and stuff in Metal Gear 2, but I feel like a lot of the boss fights are a lot less about stealth and a lot more about just goof. You know what I mean? Like, here's a vampire, here's a freaking airplane. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff. The dude on roller skates, drinking. Like, it's just like every boss is just goofy.
What a great boss.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how
I feel like they got away
is.
with that because there was also like an inside joke that Raiden actually sucks at sneaking. Like, it's almost like Kojima was making fun of a character that he wanted. Like, it's almost like Kojima didn't want you to play as Snake because the whole game would have been different. It would have had to play differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we chose Raiden for a reason, which I think is interesting. But yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Well, Snake would have just won at the beginning, right? He would have just Batmaned in.
Well, because he basically did, right? Like he's.
Raiden literally slips on dog poop like moments in.
That was bird poop.
That's
get your shit together.
Whatever, bird poop. You know what I mean? Seagull poop. Yeah. Like that's like he.
Live and let live.
Is it the poop dam?
You're not that goofy of a character, I should say, in RE5, but like, it's also going for that levels of like, okay.
Yep.
It acts like a swan song to a degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though like RE2, or sorry, not RE2, even though Metal Gear 2 didn't answer that many questions, like it created a bunch, but it played like it was going to answer all your questions, right?
Yeah.
It felt like it, the way it went for it.
It sure did.
And yeah, like I said, I think he plays everyone in RE6, and I don't know where the plot goes from RE5, because RE5 was for me when that was like my Assassin's Creed 3 moment where I was just like, okay,
I'm good.
I'm done with this. Whatever you do with the rest of this fan fiction. That said, them rebooting RE2, who knows? Maybe all those Operation Veronica Code Raccoon umbrellas are. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Well, I need to write that all down because Operation Veronica
anyway,
Code Umbrella. Because I'm not going to remember.
Maybe those are good.
Glory. Holy shit, Ryan!
I might check out. There's a feature called Resident Evil that has Marrakesh and Mike Mahardy from GameSpot. Playing through them, I might check the ones that I haven't beaten there, or I can't remember.
Do you know how far in they are?
I don't think I'll check 2 because I want to. If that's a remake, what was that? Sorry.
Do you know how far in they are?
I'm pretty sure they're like they're either caught up or almost. Like to the VR one that came out, like, you know what I mean. The one was VR and regular and not VR that came out, Biohazard or whatever it was called initially.
Yeah.
Live and let live.
They've gotten like pretty
or
far.
Or it was sub-teased as Biohazard, but then it was just Resident Evil. Huh?
They've been doing that series for a while, haven't they?
Yeah.
Wizard Lance. Oh,
yeah, the first one came out in '96, I believe. That was what that said.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't play it. I was 5.
Oh yeah, it would, like the parents were all worried about kids seeing games, like, because it did have a pretty. It was gruesome at the time.
Yeah.
Looking at it back now, it's all just polygons.
Yeah.
Just like mudded textures.
You're gonna corrupt little Jimmy.
I'm glad RE2 is getting remastered though, because I remember really liking that one. I remember not liking RE3 as much. I remember a lot of people liking RE3, but I remember RE3 being. RE3 tried to be a little more actiony to a degree, but like they didn't really nail the feel as well as RE4 did to a degree, so it was just like, I don't know. I remember, like I said, I remember kind of respecting what RE3 was going for, but like getting frustrated with it. There's a lot of puzzle stuff in those games if you aren't familiar. At least the old ones. The newer ones less so. like obtuse puzzle stuff sometimes too, like not Uncharted, like not
No,
like
the
here's your
whole,
book
like-
and you can just look at it. It's like you have like 8 things that you can put in, like it's like here's 6 candelabras, right, or candles, and there's like 10 candelabras around, and they have to go in specific ones, and there's clues about what can go in each of them, but the clues are usually hidden like in the environment, so you have to run to places. So if you forget something, you have to run back. So it's just like a lot. It's work, you know what I mean? It's a lot of work.
Tedious.
Which I imagine the remake will probably veto some of that stuff from modern
Streamline?
conventions. Yeah.
Yeah.
There better be a notepad, you know what I mean? And I'm writing shit down at least. At least Nathan Drake me there, you know what I mean? At least let me look at those things. Where I'm
Well, yeah, 'cause
standing.
that was actually a fantastic way to do it, right? It was just like...
Yeah, but I still think you can evolve from that even.
Oh, for sure. But...
Like, I think you can just make a puzzle or a minigame. Like, if you're gonna make it a puzzle, like, come up with a puzzle, you know what I mean? Like a real puzzle. Don't just make it, look at these symbols. Connect the dots. Like, I don't know. That's just busy work. That's just research.
Yeah.
There's not that I am, like, discrediting it or saying that it's bad. It's just like, I feel like there's too many examples of it in games of just like, hey, we added puzzles, and you're just like, no, you added, look at a diagram and then try to match the images. That's not puzzles. I don't really have to use my mind in that. I just have to literally remember what an image looks like and see the, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes they go a little bit deeper where it's like images match to images, but like if they're just layering that on top of each other, this image is connected to this image, which is connected to this image, which is connected to this, you know what I mean, down the chain, and you have to remember the 4 connections. That's still just image connection. It's not necessarily like, I don't know.
No, I agree.
That's one of the reasons I always liked Oblivion and stuff for that stuff. Like their mini games felt a little bit like there was a skill to the lockpicking. You know what I mean? You could get good at it. That's what I want. I want the ability for these little puzzles. Like if you're gonna use them, like stop. Like again, start treating it like a video game. They're treating it too much like it's like you're like, you know what I mean? You're actually Harrison Ford, and it's like as fun as that stuff is in execution, or sorry, in concept. It's just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. You're just like, this gets boring. I'm not actually Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones, it turns out, so. Or in that case, just don't even put puzzles in, right? Just make that stuff like narrative or cutscenes or something. Or you could Zelda's always been the one to me that like they find a way to do simplified puzzles, but like better. Like, you know what I mean? There's puzzles there. There's thinking that has to go on, but that's because they usually give you they give you items that interact with each other mechanically, right? That's kind of their thing.
Yeah, Zelda's been hit or miss with it over the course of the series.
They obviously have some that are just basically line up the images or line up the thing that you looks the same. Yeah.
Put the arrow into the eye.
Yeah, that's true. There's been some of that. But I do think there are examples of some of them that are good that in Zelda that are really good too. That are like, oh, this is actually, yeah.
Some of the ones in Wind Waker, like specifically, were really good that way. The entirety of Breath of the Wild.
Everything in Breath of the Wild, yeah, it's all those shrines, right? Are all just crazy.
Literally just
nuanced
you
puzzles.
have 5 abilities. Do your best. Yeah. Figure out ways to do it. And like, there's multiple ways to beat puzzles. Because there was one where like I was stuck on it forever, and I ended up like wiggle physicsing through it like indefinitely, not the way you were supposed to. But like, hey, that's legitimate. And then that one I ended up looking up afterwards because I was curious what you were like supposed to do. And it's like, oh cool, like that would have been like I didn't even think of that because that's combining these abilities in a weird way that I had never considered. But like my way works too. And it was like replicatable. It was just that like it was a little bit janky. Okay, we're like almost to the area. So
I'll be right back.
Skip this fucking fight.
Continuing to flee as we try to find the end.
We're
end game in
there.
this
Like, look
endless
at that.
ocean.
Look at that staircase.
Oh, these steps are it?
No, we're just
This is the stairway to heaven?
Yeah, we're finding a stairway to heaven. Exactly. Fuck you, delay attack, you dick.
But yeah, that was your Resident Evil update. We're not as deep into that lore, but yeah, maybe checking some more of that out. I can't believe Kyle hasn't seen it, and since he loves anime, I had to be like, and since I saw Resident Evil 4 on sale, I was like, man, I have to gobble. They remade that on PS4 and stuff, which is, I mean, it's one of those Skyrim type games where it's been remade on everything, but
Yep.
you know, it's almost like when you take 10 or 20 of the top games of specific generations, they get remastered as ultimates all the time because
People want to play
people have
them
demand for them. Yeah. Greatest hits things. That used to be one of the old title lineups that Sony and everyone used to do. You know, greatest hits. We brought back this game again. That's basically what we're playing, isn't it? This is basically a greatest hit.
Yeah, people liked it.
I mean, I'm not going to say I think it's a greatest hit. I'm saying that the industry has determined that it's a greatest hit.
Yes.
Financially. I often wonder how much Final Fantasy succeeds based on the, you know, in the same way that the UFC succeeds because of that one Ultimate Fighter fight. Like, hey, Final Fantasy VII got big, so there was some bleed off from that. You know what I mean? Like, people who are just inexplicably, even if they dislike things about it, or maybe they wouldn't have kept up with it if it wasn't for Final. You know what I mean? Like, they were viewing it objectively and not like in fandom. They would probably bail. Not necessarily because the other games are worse or anything, but you know what I mean? Just like, I don't know. That's my big issue with Final Fantasy, and it always has been. Way more of a fatiguing video game series than most. Like, the idea of trying to play these every one as they come out seems insane. Because there's just too many hours in them, you know what I mean?
Yes, there are.
And so many of the games feel so similar. Like, to me, I feel like my JRPG hole, like, obviously we're doing Paj-anime, but like, traditionally, as an individual player, it's never like JRPG to JRPG, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always like, I'll play a JRPG for a few months, beat it, and then like, yeah, I'll wait like 6 months before I play another JRPG.
There's also, like, you know, to get a little
more.
bit behind the fourth wall, like, there is a distinct difference between playing a game for yourself and playing a game as an episode. Like, I think
true.
We're over a year into this point. I think we can, you know, consider ourselves experts on the subject at this point. It's very different, and also, because we're towards the end of this episode, and I don't want to move forward, and I want to finish this rant, I'm gonna kind of do some of these. But yeah, like, there's a distinct difference in, like, the way that it feels, right? Like, there's pros and cons to both ways, but, you know, I kind of got that feeling for the first time when Chris and I started playing Horizon, where, like, that was the first time I had played a game start to finish in that long of a time frame, because fucking, you know, like, we're about, what are we at this point? 40 hours into this game. If I was doing 40 hours into this game on my own, I would have been done after, like, maybe a week at most. But we've been doing this for, when did we start recording this? In, like,
well,
March?
when you coordinate, when you're recording,
It's
then
June?
it's the way it's spread out. Yeah, that's
right,
for
but
sure.
the spreading
Makes
out
it
also
different.
like affects everything, right? Like, you don't get burned out the same way as you would otherwise.
That's true. That's a good point. That's very useful for a series like this nature. I have a feeling that's going to be one of the things that helps us with Kingdom Hearts.
Right, exactly.
Because while Kingdom Hearts isn't identical to Dark Souls in terms of like I make the comparison sometimes in the sense that I think it's more of a game that's strengths are its bosses and worlds, not necessarily and ridiculous lore. But the difference between Dark Souls and obviously Kingdom Hearts is Dark Souls lore is all under the surface, whereas Kingdom Hearts lore is all anime JRPG as fuck, right in front of your face, like. You know what I mean? But I meant more game structure. It's like the bosses might not always be the exact same. Like, they obviously have different patterns and attacks and stuff. But like, you do get some of that. Hey, put the game down for a little bit, sleep on it, come back. So doing it in a feature gives you, like, if you fight a tough boss and that's the end of the day, and then we don't record for a few days, you know what I mean? And then you come back and you're really good. It's like you might actually get that. That good.
That goes both ways when you're recording something.
True.
Because if you get stuck on that first boss, that's the first fucking thing you have to do. Like, oh.
Yeah, I know. Are you referencing something?
No, I just mean like in general. Like, I mean, that has happened to you before. But was that the first thing you did that day, or was that?
Wow, pretty much. It wasn't hard to get to the father. We died on the big dude a few times actually. At the beginning, remember?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Big dude who's the totally optional big dude who's hiding at the end of a street.
Wasn't even a mini boss. Like, he was just a guy.
No, he's just a big dude.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but that's just it's a lesson in how they scale out enemies as teaching moments, right? Like that's a lesson in the mechanics of their system. They're trying to teach you that at level 1 this thing can kill you, and then at level 8 you should be able to just one shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want these guys to seem threatening initially, because then they can continue that progression throughout. Where you start scaling up. Okay, so this thing's threatening. This thing's more threatening. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I think that Kingdom Hearts should be fun, and Resident Evil as well. I'm excited to keep... This Resident Evil isn't going to be under the Paj-anime umbrella, but we know what we're making. Come on, guys. I know what Resident Evil is. They can hide it in the allure of, like, you know, the Day of the Dead or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah, but
Land
we
of
also,
the Living
like...
Dead style. Because their zombies are pretty... In the later games, they aren't. Obviously, in what we'll be playing, they're more anime. But initially, they're more, you know, they're more George Romero or what. You know what I mean? Like old
John
school.
Romero?
Yeah, is that what I'm meant to say? Yeah, sorry.
Guy from,
you know what I'm saying? Old school, very slow walking. You know, and then the twist is usually always in the old Resident Evils. It was always the more damning creatures are the ones that are not zombie people, right? Zombie dogs or birds or things that would be able to react quickly regardless of whether they were dead or alive, right?
Yes. Yes. Alright, dude, that's going to do it for this episode. Episode 50 in the fucking bank.
We're getting close.
Yes, we are.
We're climbing a stairway to sit in.